There has been 2 deadly Islamist attacks in the US in 2 weeks, and the media couldn't be less interested. Of course, you'd be seeing wall-to-wall coverage if they could pin the attacks on Trump or his supporters. Also uninterested in the mayhem is our favourite AOC, who used the January 6 riot to play the victim and accused Republican senators of wanting to have her murdered. By the way, she wasn't even in the building when the riot occurred. But AOC's greatest activism during the Trump era was her supposed concern for kids in cages.
I will not compromise the lives of children, and neither will my colleagues. That is, at the end of the day, what this is about. It is unnecessary to separate children from their families. It is unnecessary to have a policy to detain innocent women and families that have harmed no person and are legally seeking asylum in the United States of America. I will not make a compromise so that we unjustly deport just a few less. No, we will stop these practices altogether, and we will not stop until they are ceased and fully held accountable.
According to Ocasio-Cortez, Trump was running concentration camps.
The United States is running concentration camps on our southern border, and that is exactly what they are. They are concentration camps. And if that doesn't bother you, we can have, okay, whatever.
Powerful stuff. Poor AOC was so concerned about the issue that she shed tears looking at an empty road leading to a detention facility and made sure there was a photographer on hand to capture the moment so she could share the images later on Twitter. So touching. But somehow AOC is far less vocal about the issue of kids in cages now that there are far more of them under the Biden administration. Indeed, detention facilities are overflowing thanks to the biggest surge in border crossings seen in some 20 years, with huge numbers now in federal custody, including around 15,000 children. The US is expected to see around 2 million illegal immigrants arrive this year alone, thanks to the Democrats' reckless rhetoric and policies. This week, after being shamed into addressing the crisis, AOC posted this bizarre explanation for the massive surge in illegal border crossings. Apparently, it's not Biden's repealing of Trump-era laws behind the influx, but climate change.
Because it's not a border crisis, it's an imperialism crisis, it's a climate crisis, it's a trade crisis. And also, it's a carceral crisis, because as I have already said, even during this term and this president, our immigration system is based and designed on our carceral system.
She really is special, isn't she? And as we see facilities that are 1,700% above capacity with children piled on top of each other, AOC wants to obsess not about the human suffering she's helped cause, but the semantics.
They want to say, what about the surge? Well, first of all, just gut check, stop. Anyone who's using the term surge around you consciously is trying to invoke a militaristic frame. And that's a problem.
Now, as you all know, English is a second language for me. But even I know surge is not a militaristic word. It literally means a strong, wave-like forward movement, rush or sweep, or a sudden and great increase. Why does Alexandria think the term surge is invoking a militaristic frame and white supremacist tropes?
Because this is not a surge. These are children, and they are not insurgents, and we are not being invaded, which, by the way, is a white supremacist idea, philosophy.
Oh, dear God, she's gone full-blown nincompoop. Surge insurgent, get it? But an insurgent, AOC, is someone who is fighting against the government in their own country. The origins of the word are Latin from the word insurgentum, literally meaning to rise against. It has nothing to do with surge. It's like the word nincompoop has nothing to do with the word poop. You see, a nincompoop is a foolish or stupid person, while poop refers to excrement, or the rubbish that far-left ideologues like AOC spew when their toxic activism bears fruit. Now, AOC may be considered among the US's least effective lawmakers, ranking 230th out of 240 Democratic members, according to a study by the nonpartisan Centre for Effective Lawmaking, which looked at more than a dozen metrics, including the number of bills a lawmaker sponsored and how far each of those bills advanced through the legislative process. But though AOC fails at lawmaking, we must not underestimate her impact in adding to the race-obsessed climate of hate and hysteria in the US, or her influence in seeing the Democrats embrace reckless policies that have guaranteed a surge at the southern border.